Hey there YouTube, it's Cadiot, and in today's episode I've got a little tutorial for you all. So recently I discovered something, and by recently I mean like I was just looking on the wiki, and I realized when you hit a creaking, it generates resin on the side of the pale oak logs. And so I thought to myself, wait, this sounds like a great way to build a resin farm. So in this tutorial, I'm going to go over how to build a Minecraft resin farm using Creaking for the new 1.21.4 update. So the first thing we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to come in and we're going to need to cover up all the sides of our wood blocks that we're not planning on having resin spawn on. The thing about resin spawn is that it's kind of random, so whenever I punch this Creaking, it's going to spawn it on any one of the exposed sides of exposed pale wood or pale wood plank or stripped pale wood. And so what I can do with that is I can, in theory, then have 2 or 3 different exposed sides that can constantly farm resin. Now there is a 5-second cooldown from when you punch it to when it generates, but the thing is, it is consistent and it will consistently generate a couple resin on the sides. So the next thing we need to do is we actually need to build the harvesting method. Now, thankfully, pistons can harvest resin. It's just as simple as hitting it, and just like that, resin comes off the block. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to use observer, a sticky piston, and then just a redstone line, if I can actually place blocks. And essentially what this is going to do, whenever I go and hit this Creaking, resin generates, piston punches it off, everything resets. One punch, no worry about it doing an infinite loop. Now you could have it do an infinite loop if you wanted it to do an infinite loop. However, I don't like noise, and because I want my farm to be quiet, and I only want it to do it when it needs to do it, all I have to do is make it so it only does it when it needs to do it. That was a sentence. Now the next thing we're going to need is a collection system. This is fairly simple. Really all you need is a chest and then hoppers. So I'm actually going to do 2 separate collection systems on this one on each individual side to save resources. You can connect these however you want in the long run. Now to make sure that the items don't go all over the place, I'm also going to enclose the collection systems. And now, when I punch the Creaking, things happen, things fire, and resin ends up in the chest. So now you're probably thinking, how do we automate this? Well, it's quite simple. We take my friend Bone Boy here, and then we come over to this Creaking, and we give him a punch. And just like that, Bone Boy is just going to repeatedly attack this Creaking until the end of time. And every time he attacks it, about every 5 seconds is the interval that resin can generate. Resin then gets generated. He attacks it, resin goes in. Bada bing, bada boom. I don't know what else to say. Now, unfortunately for us, Creakings cannot be name tagged. It's something Mojang doesn't allow. Probably to prevent you from AFK farming resin, which I disagree with personally, but you don't need to know my opinion. There is another solution. Now, since Creakings will disappear during the day, all we need to do is build a perimeter around where the Creaking can spawn. So the Creaking can only spawn within 16 blocks horizontally of its resin core and 8 blocks vertically. And so if we go out and we build a giant radius around where it can spawn, the second it becomes day, Creaking disappears, becomes night, Creaking spawns within the radius. We take our wolf, we unseat him, we tell him to come out of the cage. And then all we gotta do is we just gotta sick him on the Creaking. And now that we've sicked him on the Creaking, he's just gonna sit there and he's gonna keep generating us resin. It's that simple. Now this is one of those farms that if you really want to, you can give yourself a sword and be in survival mode and you can just farm it to your heart's content. You don't have to do anything. Well, no, you do have to do something. You have to make sure the wolf continuously attacks him. However, you don't have to go mine the resin in, so it's quicker. Maybe. No, almost certainly. So doing this, you'll get, with that machine back there, 2 resin every 5 seconds. Which, with the standard night in Minecraft being about 600 seconds, or 10 minutes, essentially, what that means is that we can get about 120 resin a night, which is probably a lot higher than you'd get if you had to manually go break the resin yourself. But that being said, you don't have to then set up all this farm for it. I looked away. So what's my conclusion? Well, this is definitely a flawed farm. If we could name tag Creakings, then this would be a easy farm to build, easy farm to actually use consistently. And I mean, unfortunately, Mojang has decided that this is not something that they want. So if we can all petition Mojang to make Creakings name taggable, then this could be a farm that would output so much resin, and you would never have to worry about farming resin again. Anyway, if you thought this was a helpful guide to easily farming resin, then you can hit the subscribe button. You could also like the video, let more people see it. And anyway, I've been Caddy It, and have a good day. Bye.